What does it mean when we've reached a point to where we're disguising the towers inside of crosses and churches, placing them over elementary school cafeterias, over high school football fields? In fact, this one has two, disguised as palm trees where you run your errands, in the parking lot of the grocery store where you buy the food you eat, on the side of almost every road and in almost every neighborhood. And the nicer the neighborhood, the nicer the fake tree. Or how about the random fluorescent lighting that's been popping up around cities that apparently requires more than a bulb, pole, fixture, and wiring? I believe this is us slowly consenting to the beast system, which has always revealed itself on the outskirts of the cities and subtly within, because even the double-cross power lines resemble the satanic Leviathan cross. The full Leviathan cross has an Ouroboros, which is a symbol that has surfaced along with many of the tech companies.
This storm isn't a once in a lifetime, it's a once in forever. I found some very weird stuff, but first, we have areas close to San Antonio now being flooded, around Austin, other rivers, etc. The death toll so far as the number climbs every 30 minutes as they find more bodies is now 47. And now they're saying there's actually 27 young girls missing. Right here you see a post by New York Post detailing the whole camp and all that situation. And completely unrelated, not relevant whatsoever. At the same time with this hurricane tropical storm coming to the East Coast and this stuff happening in Texas, we have the Weather Channel doing a report on this. Their words.
Captain Hart wrote in his logbook that he and his co-pilots flew directly through the cloud and released dry ice into it. Then they descended to check if any rain would fall.
And again, completely unrelated, they just did this story a few hours ago again on the Weather Channel. The most insane part about this storm was the rising of the river by 26 foot in 45 minutes. I've never even heard of such a thing in my life. We have Texas officials blaming the National Weather Service for not being able to call this the way it was. We also have the National Weather Service months prior coming out and saying they can't detect things like they used to because of all the changes. You know, administrative, federal things have been changed. It's almost like it's the perfect situation for the perfect storm.
And look at your own forecast, and the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts.
Now again, completely irrelevant, not related whatsoever. I'm just trying to get familiar with the area. Just 1 month ago, Kirk County citizens were all standing up saying we're not going to be having any lithium battery storage here. That they need to stand up, and you can read it.
But this is not a once-off. The dams are 100% weapons against the old world structures. We've proven that, and it's been shown to a lot of people. And we will continue to do that, but today I want to show that the dam itself is extremely powerful. It is there, and there are things going on inside the complex, within the walls. It has bizarre symbolism. They held a weird ceremony with the president, even giving a speech, timing it all up to match with the stars at 8:56 p.m. This is not random. They know something. They have knowledge, and this is what they did. Before we go further, the possibilities, this place that we all live, are endless. I'm not going to restrict the research to things that we can without a doubt prove. I'm going to continue to ask questions, and I'm going to continue to dig deeper, because this is when we find things. We all have to ask questions, like, what would the government need that much power for? Why are there buildings, places inside this dam that are restricted to even the workers? Why was there a weird ceremony at the dam? Why are there two winged figures sitting outside with Thuban written on the ground? Thuban, meaning snake or serpent. And we all know that serpent represents hidden knowledge. We have a compass on the ground and a location of possible sacrifice to turn the machine on. If they were just constructing a dam, none of this would be going on. They would just build the dam. They would never set the dam to a symbolic circle.
Is your Wi-Fi tracking you? This screenshot has been making the rounds recently. It's basically selling you a service to have Wi-Fi motion detection in your home without the use of motion tracking cameras or sensors. Wow. Amazing. And for the conspiracy theorists amongst us, aka educated people, this comes as no surprise whatsoever. What I mean is that they've had this technology and capability for a long time. Who knows how they've been using it? They can absolutely track where you are in your house using your Wi-Fi, regardless of if you pay for the service or not. It works by seeing what blocks the Wi-Fi signal, kind of like a heat map. And this is very similar to how bats use echolocation to fly through the air. And if Wi-Fi is beaming out these signals that are blasting into us and getting blocked, what else is that signal doing to our bodies? This is just another thing to be aware of in the increasing surveillance of this technological world. And another reason to turn off your Wi-Fi whenever you're not using.
The last words of Lee Harvey Oswald. It wasn't me, it was the CIA.
Now, at first, it seemed like a throwaway line from a bad joke, but when you dig deeper, you realize there was a lot more meaning behind what Woody Harrelson's character was saying in this scene. You see, Woody Harrelson's father, Charles Harrison, was a legitimate hitman for the Mafia who died in prison in 2007 where he was serving 2 life sentences. But that's just the tip of the iceberg because Charles Harrelson was also suspected of being involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. In fact, Charles Harrelson was one of the infamous 3 tramps arrested shortly after the assassination of JFK had taken place.
The tall tramp turned out to be Charles Harrelson, Woody Harrelson's father.
Charles Harrelson was very closely involved with criminals who had strong connections within the CIA, and he was an associate of Jack Ruby, the nightclub owner who ended up Lee Harvey Oswald before he had the chance to spill the beans. And what makes things even crazier is White Men Can't Jump wasn't the only movie connection between Woody Harrelson and his father. In the novel No Country for Old Men, Sheriff Ed Tom Bell referred to the assassination of a judge in San Antonio, Texas. Now, this event actually took place in real life, and the perpetrator was none other than Woody Harrelson's father. Remember those 2 life sentences he was serving? Well, it was as a result of him that judge in San Antonio. And in the movie No Country for Old Men, Woody Harrelson just so happens to portray a hitman from Texas.
Just how dangerous is he?
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
Which of course brings us back to this random out-of-place scene from White Men Can't Jump. Given everything we just talked about and all the connections between Woody Harrelson and his father, this scene becomes a lot more interesting.
But check this out. The last words of Lee Harvey Oswald. It wasn't me, it was the CIA. No, get it?
Yeah. I got it. Honey.
I'm sure most people are familiar with this man here, Nikola Tesla. A man of so many visions and talents that you could go on for days. But today, we're going to talk about his creation, Wardenclyffe Tower. Built in 1901, amongst other things, the main function of the tower was to transmit wireless power. But of course, the whole project was shut down and the tower was ripped down because JP Morgan pulled their funding. In the middle of last month, DARPA, with the project they've been working on since 2023, not only achieved that, but they set a record sending power to a remote location 5 miles away. Now, like I said, this is a project they've been working on since early 2023. Now, guess who's building the laser it takes to actually make this happen? Raytheon. And guess who's one of Raytheon's biggest stockholders? JP Morgan and Chase. The same people that stopped the tower from happening.
So did you know about this massive plan that Kerrville, Texas, which is having this unprecedented flood? There's a whole big plan to modify the entire city, change, and of course they use the word resilience. If you know anything about agenda, you know what? 2 numbers. You'll know that resiliency is a buzzword, which really means further control. But my point is that it's shocking that this place was set to have a whole change up, and now there's a flood going on. And many people will say, That's just a strange coincidence or nothing to be alarmed or be concerned about. And then we have this guy emailing Rainmaker Corporation, asking them if they modified the weather. Of course, that's not confirmed. We're not claiming that, but people are asking that because, just read that.
Where a woman says she was enjoying the pool Wednesday night when she saw a strangely shaped and unfamiliar object falling from the sky just over there. The whole thing now caught on video.
Then I look up here to the sky, I see something falling down, so I pulled up my phone and I zoomed in, and it was right about there.
Colleen McCormick was out by her hot tub around 9 Wednesday night when she says she saw something strange and unfamiliar up above.
I see something falling down from the sky. It had blinking lights and looked like it was on fire or something. And it was just coming down really fast. I had no idea what it could have been.
McCormick captured this 8-second video from her backyard showing an unidentified object headed straight down.
There's 3 things. So it looks like it's fire or a big light.
Expecting to hear a loud boom of some sort, she ran to the front of her home to hopefully capture the landing.
My heart was pounding because I just looked up. I'm oh God, what is about to happen right now?
But McCormick says the blinking object quickly vanished from her view.
It seemed like it was coming down so fast. It was just it knows what it's doing. It just goes like that. I don't know. It's weird.
With having never seen something like it before, McCormick's mind went racing.
I thought it was some explosive, but I don't know. Hopefully I'm not the only one that saw this. I'm not going crazy. I didn't see things, but I got it on video, so I'm I did definitely see something.
Now, the FAA was not able to comment on the video McCormick took, but they said they did not get any reports of debris in the area. Both Pembroke Fire and police said the same thing. On scene in Pembroke, Alyssa Azara for your local.
I think one of the craziest movie factoids of all time was casually dropped on a Joe Rogan episode. He was interviewing Bob Lazar, a man who claims to have worked on extraterrestrial technology at Area 51 back in 1989. What's crazy about Bob's story is how credible he sounds and how people who study body language have done breakdowns on when Bob speaks, he gives off no physical indicators that he's lying. Bob was talking about back in the 80s about how these UFO aircrafts were powered by Element 115, which everyone made fun of him for because there's no such thing as Element 115, until the existence of Element 115 became public knowledge in February 2004. People have found his story to be quite believable up until this moment when he's telling Joe about a hand scanner that he would use to get inside the top secret facility that he worked at. Movie aficionados say this is the moment that proves Bob is full of crap because that same hand scanner was a prop used in the 1977 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I thought this was proof that Bob Lazar was lying myself until I started researching how Close Encounters was filmed. A man by the name of J. Allen Hynek worked on the film as a creative consultant, and he actually cameoed in the movie right here. Hynek was a brilliant professor and astronomer who worked as a scientific advisor on UFO studies for the United States Air Force. He worked on 3 different UFO projects for the military: Project Sign, Project Grudge, and Project Blue Book. He was handpicked by Steven Spielberg to work on the film because Spielberg wanted to bring as much realism to the film as possible. He wanted to hire people like Hynek who are privy to these top secret facilities and have seen the tech they use themselves. And the more you dig on this hand scanner, the more evidence of its existence that you find. Dozens and dozens of first-hand accounts of people saying a similar thing. People saying things like, oh yeah, I remember our company using this for a short while, but it was kind of a pain in the butt, so they eventually stopped using it. But because this tech never went mainstream, people assume it never existed, just like Element 115. Whenever I watch this movie, I just can't help but think to myself, now that we know that that isn't just some made-up movie prop, what else in this movie do we just automatically assume is fiction, but is actually closer to the truth than we think?